Hi there, I'm Lisa Doyle with Rockcliff Realtors, and we have probably, in the last 2 to 3 months, probably 50 clients that have asked me questions about 1031 exchange. We do a lot of work with investors, and so I've invited a special guest, so thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is James Callejas, and he works for the largest, I think, 1031 exchange company in the area. Now, you guys are national, right?
Yes.
Okay, so the national... And
the last one left, the only one with the national footprint.
Wow, and so that people really need to know that they can trust where their money's being held, and so I think that that's a super important factor. But I wanted to have you come join us today to walk through some of the biggest questions that people have about 1031 exchange. You know, a lot of people are very confused about principal residence versus investment property and how a 1031 works. So if you wouldn't mind, tell us the name of your company real quick so that they'll...
Investment Property Exchange Services, also known as IPX 1031.
Okay,
name of the company.
Okay, good. So tell us briefly exactly what a 1031 exchange is, if you wouldn't mind.
Well, a 1031 exchange is where I purchased a piece of investment property. At some point, it could have been 40 years ago, could have been a couple of years ago,
right.
And now over some period of time, it's appreciated in value. I've depreciated in some cases, and I've collected income in some cases as well, but I'm looking to sell. And I know if I sell the property and take the money, I'm going to pay a lot of taxes.
That's right.
Well, the 1031 exchange is a tool in real estate where instead of me taking the money at the close of escrow, I'm going to have that money put into my 1031 exchange account, and I'm going to reinvest that money into other pieces of investment property. And as long as I use all of the proceeds, buy of equal or greater value, I won't have a taxable consequence, and now I'll own a different piece of real estate or different pieces of real estate. So it gives you the opportunity to build wealth within your real estate portfolio, maintaining all the equity and not paying any capital gains tax.
Well, I know a lot of people that we help, they have a strategy of, let's say they own, multiple investment properties, and they realize that they want to then purchase a home as an investment property that they may one day want to live in. So they know that there's some, there's some tax benefits to that. So they're trying to change an investment property either to a home, a primary residence, one day that they would live in. Or I had a client recently ask me, okay, I have a single family residence as an investment. I want to switch into a fourplex, for instance. So you can do that. You can switch into any type of 1 to 4 units. Is that correct?
Actually, you can do even more than that. You can go into the commercial side of
okay.
real estate as well. So you've got the single family residence person that's owned that property for a number of years. Maybe they want to get into something different. Maybe they want to get into a fourplex. Maybe they bought it in an area where there's been so much appreciation over the last 20 years that they could put that into a generating income machine. So some type of commercial piece of property that will give them a lot more income. And maybe it's out of California. Maybe it's in a different state where the supplemental income is going to truly make a difference in their lifestyle. So they do have that opportunity to stay within a single family residence, to go to a duplex, triplex, fourplex, office building, 8plex, 20plex. It doesn't matter. As long as it's real property that's used for a business or investment purpose,
right.
to real property that's used for a business or investment purpose anywhere in the United States or any U.S. territory, that qualifies for a 1031 exchange. And if they want to buy a primary residence in a 1031 exchange, what some people have done, maybe initially they didn't want that to be their primary residence,
right.
but they bought it, and they rented it out for a few years, things changed in their life, and then they move into it. That happens quite often, right. On the primary and on the second home. So it does work.
Yeah, exactly. So tell us a little bit about what you would say is the biggest mistakes you see people make when it comes to 1031 exchange.
Not getting involved soon enough.
Yeah.
If you're selling a piece of investment property, you don't wait till you're in escrow. You don't wait till the day before the close of escrow, and God forbid you wait till after,
right.
Because then it's too late. You plan ahead of time. You're selling this property for a reason. You want to buy a different type or the same type of property for a reason. Let's start this whole procedure prior to listing.
Right.
Let's see where we want to buy something, what type of property we want to buy. Then when we sell this property, we can put the appropriate paperwork in place prior to the close of escrow, because what I often see happening is I get the call after the close of escrow saying, I want to do a 1031 exchange, I haven't invested the money, what do I do next? Well, the only option is to pay tax. So one of the biggest mistakes I see is people don't understand it needs to be set up prior. They can't touch the money. Anything that they do touch will be considered taxable.
Right.
And that's the most basic. There's so many different little things that you need to know about a 1031 exchange. And it's real simple. Give me a call. Give us a call, rather.
Right, exactly.
We'll talk to you and see exactly what needs to be done, and we'll be proactive rather than reactive, and that's the best way to handle a 1031 exchange.
I know, I had a client one time call me while they were in escrow, saying the same thing that you just said, and they were able to accomplish it because it was early on enough but it was in a different environment. So I think that the best advice I can give any clients that we work with is to get advice up front. Make this a strategic plan, and make sure that they contact you or contact us right away.
Yeah, and I've had people contact me years ahead of listing the property because they hear about taxes, they know things are going to change, they know taxes can really hurt, and they want to make sure that they're prepared. So they call me way in advance, and they go, did I call you too early? No, it's the person that calls me too late that I can't help.
Exactly. Now tell us the guidelines about the 1031. People have a lot of confusion about their, identifying properties. How quickly do you have to close it? How soon, once your original investment closes. So what's the guideline?
Well, the guidelines are in stone. First off, like I mentioned earlier, you got to set it up prior to the close of escrow. That's number one guideline, or the time frames don't matter.
Right.
So what I need in order to set it up is a copy of the preliminary title report so I can see who's on title, because that can sometimes bring up issues. And I need a copy of the sales contract, because we actually assign into the rights and act as the seller for the seller. And I will look at the contract to see if there's anything that can conflict with the exchange. Now, once escrow closes, the proceeds go into the 1031 exchange, and that individual has 45 days, calendar days, not business days, from the close of escrow to identify potential replacement property. They have an additional 135 days after day 45 for a total of 180 to close on what they identify. There is no extensions for those time frames, because I get every excuse in the book. Can I get an extension? The only way you can get an extension if the president himself will give you an extension. The only time that has happened is if there is an act of terrorism or a natural disaster. We are not going to bank on those things helping out on 1031 exchange. So I can't say there never have been, but it more than likely it's not going to happen for you. So know your time frames, 45 and 180 days. Everything starts from the close of escrow. It does not start once you go into contract. From the close of escrow, that's when the time frames start.
Okay, and we've had a few cases where we've extended close of escrows to try to meet the identified guidelines, so it helps people not feel like they're pressured.
It gives them more time.
They're not pressured.
And I've had many people call me and say, okay, well, I bought the property for 50, I'm selling it for 100, I just need to reinvest the 50. Big misconception. You have to reinvest everything.
Right,
the IRS looks at it, and I understand where they're coming from, that 50 is just the gain, but the IRS looks at it, anything you take, you're taking from that gain portion.
Right. That makes
Real
sense.
important, because I get the call all the time.
Yeah, that makes sense. People have a lot of misconceptions about how a 1031 works, and it works the same from state to state, so there's no different in guidelines as far as whether you're in California, whether you're in Arizona, or,
Yeah.
Okay.
The time frames are not going to change anywhere. The state tax may change a little bit, but those time frames, you've got to abide by the time frames each and every time for a 1031 exchange.
Okay, perfect. Now, we know we have some tax changes coming up as far as investment property exchange, so explain that. What's going on as far as January 1st?
Well, some things are still in the works, as we all know, because there's this big fiscal cliff. But the way it currently looks is our federal tax on a capital long-term investment, and that's where you've owned real estate for more than 1 year and 1 day, is looking to increase from 15 to 20%, which is significant.
Yeah, significant.
And then there's also the additional 3.8% that's going to go towards health care that will affect some clientele as well, as long as they hit certain criteria. And most people don't understand it, and most people are going to get hit by it. So that's an additional 8.8% that potentially could hit them in a failed exchange, on a cash out, on certain transactions. Now, the 1031 exchange is if you purchase of equal or greater value using all your cash, you will defer all of that and not pay any of those taxes.
Sure. Okay, good. Well, now, if they have certain questions involving their personal circumstances, where's the best place that they can reach you?
My cell phone, because I'm always on the road trying to educate and empower individuals out there about 1031 exchange. 415-640-0794. Anything from the simple delayed exchange, simultaneous exchange, to the more complex reverse exchange and build-to-suit exchange. I'm more than happy to help.
Yeah, thank you so much. And of course, you can call us anytime as well, and I'll be happy to refer you to James' information. My number direct is 925-890-7443, and I really appreciate your help. I think so many people have so many questions unanswered that you are a terrific resource, so thank you.
Well, thank you so much.
Right, take care. See you soon.